Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out episodes 17 and 18 of Vinland Saga, and we left off the last couple of episodes with Askeladd making a lot of strategic moves, or at least that's what I'm thinking is happening. We had lots of moments of him talking to Bjorn where he was hinting that there was some previously prepared plan that they are now choosing to put into action, and we've seen that it's having a bit of a negative effect on the other people with him, especially since it looks like he's failing, because I feel like a lot of his strategy is about further in the future. It's about not right now. It's trying to set things up so that when he does actually confront the king of Denmark, that he has a bunch of stuff already laid out. But to everyone else, I think it looks like he's failing because he's not ensuring that everybody's going to survive, he's not keeping enemies away from them, he's not making them a bunch of money, and that's usually what his band of Norsemen are usually motivated by. So we had a couple of things kind of go awry in this plan. One is that when Askeladd killed Ragnar, Ragnar revealed that there's actually two princes who have a call to the throne, and Knut is not the favorite. So there are actually these two factions in Denmark, but that are lobbying for each of these brothers to try and get them on the throne. So it's going to be a little more complicated than Askeladd might have originally thought. And then we also had his group, his army, turning on him. I'm not sure if it's going to be a detriment or if it's part of the plan. My theory at the end of the last episode was that Askeladd was actually thinking that this would be beneficial because it's faster to travel with less people and it's easier to feed them, which has been an issue. They had to kill an entire town and take all of their food and resources to be able to continue traveling, and it's going to be a lot easier to make those resources last if he only has a handful of people to take care of. So it seems like it's going to be him, Bjorn, Thorfinn, and Knut. I feel like that's going to be, oh, and the priest. I knew there was five in my brain, and the priest. It seems like that's going to be the group of people that are going to be traveling together after this, but at the moment they need to deal with the fact that they now have all of Askeladd's men turning against them, and also there's just, an entire other English army that is starting to catch up to them, and the only thing between them and this army is the fact that they took down the bridge over a river. So things not looking good for Askeladd at the moment, but we'll have to see how he digs his way out of this. So let's get into episode 17. In 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. It's it's not good. I mean, it's gonna be harder for them to take their resources over the river if the bridge isn't there, but I don't think I don't think Thorkel will matter. It'll matter to him. I think he'll just charge over and figure it out when he's on the other side. Not that he needs to, we saw the spear, so he doesn't need to cross the river to cause some damage. I think he would just see it as an extra challenge. It would just be more fun to him. The way he's so dismissive, where he's just like, don't pretend like you're brave. Mm, I don't think that's correct. I think he's more interested in Thorfinn than you might think. Not going to. Better make a decision quick, though. There's a whole army that's en route. Poor Thorfinn just getting caught up in the middle of this, though. He's like, I just want to fight Askeladd and win. That's all I want to do. And now he's caught up in all of this drama with princes and kings and politics. He just wanted to be with his dad. It's how this all started. See, the clippiness of like Canet, where he has a very like intense facial expression, I really feel like he's going to change a lot now that Ragnar is gone. And he wasn't able to like properly mourn him because they had to just leave quickly because they were discovered. I feel like that's very much going to make him and Thorfinn closer. I don't know if that'll be I don't know if that'll be beneficial for them. I feel like Thorfinn might feed into Knut's need for like revenge, maybe, especially since he thinks that it's England's fault. Avalon, like King Arthur. Ah, is this flashback with Askeladd with his mom? True. King Arthur is like such an important part of Welsh mythology too, so it makes sense that that would be something he grew up in. But it's very similar to Vinland, right? That Thorfinn grew up on. This place of beauty and abundance and lack of suffering. It makes sense that that's like where he's pulling from though, where he's like, I need a leader who's worthy of it, who makes me want to serve him instead of forcing me to. If he's pulling that from like the King Arthur tales, because that's like a tremendous sense of like justice and fairness and all the kind of things that King Arthur embodies. All true. Yeah, they've been through some stuff. I feel like he's gonna push them farther to. I was like, I feel like he's gonna say something that makes them more against him than uh making them want to side with him. Ooh, jeez. It feeds into my idea that it's like planned, right? Like it's easier not to have them with him. He's not gonna be able to get his knives back though. That's the one thing about throwing knives is that how do you get them back? Hang, Askeladd. Heck of an arm. How could they lift him alone because he's got this? Like Bjorn's like, it is safer for us to be out of the blast radius. Yeah, they're fighting amongst themselves. They're also just like in the way now. The the prince is gone. It's a good way of buying some time though. Like yeah, they have a few people chasing them, but that's a lot better than a whole army. And Thorkel's gonna be distracted by the fighting that he gets to be a part of now. See, that's what I was saying. You're throwing knives around, you can't get them back. I guess that is part of it too, where like, yeah, they're angry at Asklad, but Bjorn, they might feel like they can appeal to. That smile though, of like, he's ready for a fight. Oh no, the horses though. It's not their fault. I understand that being the strategy, but the horses are innocent in all of this. Ooh, coming in strong. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a good plan to just like potentially horrifically injure the one bargaining chip you have. Is it Bjorn? Uh-oh. He's about to power up. We haven't seen this since like early in the season. Yeah, I'm like, is he going back to Asklad? I don't know, it's hard to tell. I can't believe him running away entirely because like his only drive is to be around Asklad so he can kill him himself. I'm assuming that's where he's going because he wants to make sure that Asklad doesn't die in this fight. Ooh, he's doing well though. Not that I'm surprised, but like even like tired and beat up and against way more numbers than he can kind of logically handle. Still going strong. Ooh. Oh, that like knocks the wind out of me. Ooh, jeez. Ascalon. It's like through his helmet. Good intimidation tactic though. Yeah, who's gonna go first? Everybody wants to keep their distance, huh? It's true. Thorfinn is not only a very good fighter, but he's definitely gonna be pissed if you kill Askeladd. It's a good negotiation. And they don't want to fight him anyway. Not really. Oof. I'm just waiting for Thorfinn to come in hot. It's not worthless anymore. It's an interesting contrast to believe too, where we have like Bjorn talking about Valhalla and taking people along with him to Valhalla, and then we have Askeladd who wants to go to Avalon, wants to be in this very different place between these two cultures, these two belief systems. Ugh, I'm just like there's this sentimental moment, and I'm just like waiting. Ooh, Thorkel show up. Now you've got some real problems. The sass still though. We're just giving up in the face of Thorkel. Yeah, he's intimidating, isn't he? They're not gonna take you alive though. He has no interest in you whatsoever. So you're really not important. So you know, he's gonna like Askeladd more. He's more interesting. Keeps fighting. He really doesn't need your help. Like, ooh, he is. The current situation notwithstanding. I feel like he would be disappointed if Thorfinn was like part of this rebellion of like giving up and stuff. Saw that coming. Don't make promises you can't keep. You'd better take the chance at least. No? No takers? There you go, at least some fighting spirit. I don't think it'll do them any good. Points for trying, at least. He's sure. Oh, he will. Like I said, you are not important. He does not need you. You have no value. Except maybe some entertainment. Mm-hmm. Still waiting for Thorfinn. Like, he might come in here because he wants to fight Thorkel. It could become something like ghoulish when other people see him. Like, they fear Thorkel so much that, like, it warps their reality of him. Okay, Asglad's just hanging out, taking a breather. Doesn't have to do all the work himself now. There's a boy. Ooh. Man of the hour. Fueled by pure rage. I have a bad feeling about this horse. Yeah. Landed good, though. He's a little unstable, one might say. Only one that seems to be, like, ready to fight Thorkel, though. No. I feel like Thorkel will understand this, though, this concept, because he feels the same thing about Thorfinn. It's just like somebody you really want to fight. It's one way to settle things anyway. I have no idea how that's gonna turn out. I loved getting to like dig more into Askeladd. I already said that I really hoped that we went back to some of the flashbacks we saw before, but I love that we're pulling again on these feelings of like belief systems. So in the last couple of episodes, even like before that, we had a lot of like biblical different stories and imagery and stuff like that. And there's been lots of biblical references throughout the series, which is very much outside of Celtic and Norse traditions. And I talked before about the contrast between like the biblical beliefs and the Nordic beliefs, but I like that we're getting the Celtic influence, the Welsh specific influence with Askeladd and his background, and that being specifically about like King Arthur and those specific tales, but also just getting into like the other world, which is when they were talking about like this land of fairies and like magical beings and stuff like that. The other world is very complicated in actuality, but it is like to the west, and it's where like all of the non-human creatures in the mythology come from. It's not the afterlife. It's not where you go when you die, though there is a place in the other world where you go when you die, but it's lots of different like worlds within it. It's complicated. It's kind of like with Norse, where they have like lots of interconnected worlds within it. It gets complicated very quickly, but I like that we're pulling that Welsh belief system in, and that it's contrasting with things like Valhalla and like warrior culture, because it's very different to the knights in the round table and stuff like that. The Welsh traditions of warriors is quite different from like the Nordic ones, where it's less about like valor and dying in battle and dying with a weapon in your hand and being a good fighter, and it's more about justice and seeking harmony. A huge thing in Welsh mythology is restoring balance and harmony. It's why in lots of stories there has to be a king and a queen, and not because of needing like rulers in any capacity, but because they represent like divine masculine and feminine energies, and you need that balance between those two to like restore peace to the kingdom. And there can be a ton of turmoil if one of them goes missing. It's why lots of stories are about like specifically queens getting kidnapped or taken away, because they represent like the actual sovereignty of the land itself. So a king doesn't have any power if they don't have that connection to the land. So people will kidnap the queen as like to claim ownership of the land, to take over in the king's place. And as a result, the land will, there'll be droughts and there'll be storms and everything will be chaos in the natural world, because you've lost that divine feminine energy that is supposed to be ruling over it. So it's very different from what I know of the Nordic traditions. I will admit that my knowledge of the Norse is not very thorough, as opposed to the Welsh mythology, which I know quite well. But just that contrast between like wanting to be warriors and dying in battle, and we've seen that kind of warps people's idea of like glory, and we had a good contrast with that with Thor's before, of like warrior culture not being maybe the best way. And then you have Thorkel coming in, who like fits a lot of that like warrior culture on paper and the way that he presents himself, but then you have this underlying belief in like divine justice and a perfect world and beauty and balance and all of those other things that come with the stories of King Arthur. So lots of interesting things to bring that into who Askeladd is and what fuels him, and even them pointing out that he's acting differently than he usually does, and he's saying, well, I'm running out of time, so I have to like actually put into action this plan that I've always had, and I have to bring down the facade and like actually fight for something that I actually believe in, instead of fitting in to what is expected of me. Love getting to see that, and him kind of shifting his the way that he sees Thorfinn now that he has raged his way into this battle. So it looks like we're going to see what happens with the rematch between Thorfinn versus Thorkel. I honestly don't know which way it's gonna go, because I feel like Thorfinn has come a long way, but Thorkel is like a force of nature, so not really sure how that's gonna gonna turn out, but the stakes are high, and I feel like Thorfinn is willing to throw away everything if it means that he finally gets to have his chance against Askeladd. So let's check out episode 18. In 3, 2, 1, go. I have a feeling this is gonna be a heck of a fight. Oh hey, that's the clip from the opener. I feel like we haven't seen Thorfinn really fight in a while. Hasn't had to. I mean, he's still alive, so. I guess just like, how inconvenient. You really should stop bringing up his dad. It's a bit of a sore spot to say the least. Hmm. I guess we don't really know a lot about Thorfinn's family because we haven't really spent any time with them. And he left really young. Yes, backstore, please. Always. Ooh. The posturing, though. Ooh. Yeah, don't make fun of him. I hope we get some more backstory. It just kind of like clicked to my brain that I'm like, I guess Thorfinn doesn't know that much about his family because he was extremely young when Thor's died and he never went back home. So he wouldn't know any of the stuff about their past or where they're from. Like, he only knows the little bit that he's been able to get about Thor's in like retrospect. Um, but even like Askeladd didn't know Thor's before that, so he doesn't have any information to give over. As opposed to like Thorkel, who knew him before he settled down and had kids and stuff. This is what was in the episode. I guess it's Bjord who's putting someone headfirst through that tree. I'm used to seeing him with his helmet on. Oof. Bjorn's got this. It's like what, 5 people? I mean, I don't know if they do have anything better to do. You can't run away forever. Because if it's like never gonna get better if people who are against what's going on decide to step up. Definitely not. Are we gonna get some closure? Maybe? That is not a very reassuring silence. It's probably good though. Like a understanding what it's like to be the average person. There's empathy in that. It's also very King Arthur. We're continuing that kind of narrative throughout the parallels with Canute. You gotta let go. I wasn't expecting to be in my feelings. Oh, that's one image to wake up to. There's the clip. The like brutality of that statement though. Well, that's a little dark, but okay. I mean, that is true. It is a weird mixture of like love, but also there's also the side of like him being his prince, right? Like there's obviously a weird power dynamic to that. Whereas like Knut saw Ragnar as a parental figure, but he still technically outranked him. Oh, do we actually cut him? Even with the chainmail? I mean, you went for the hand last time. He does have like a limited set of skills, doesn't he? That seems to be the repeating question, doesn't it? And that seems to be the priest's question. Is it Bjorn? Oh, interesting take. Loss does change you, though. I mean, he's not wrong. I guess it is discrimination in that, like, you put certain people higher in your priorities than others. Like, they're more important than everyone else. That is. That's basically what discrimination is, isn't it? It's interesting information to have as a king though, because you can't have that feeling like if, at least what I think they're going for with the imagery and connections to like King Arthur is like he can't have certain people he loves more than others because they care for him. You have to love people equally in a kingdom if you actually want to treat everyone in the kingdom equally. Oh, I love that of like why isn't there any love in the hearts of men? And then we have the apple, which is very like Garden of Eden, the first sin, usually seen as like yeah, the first disobedience, but also like the introduction of those imperfections. Ooh, good move though. Using the environment. Are we just we're just midair? Ooh, not a good landing that time. Shake it off. There's like a huge mixture of like action stuff and then like existentialism. In this episode, I'm like, I've been in my feelings. I'm contemplating everything I thought was true. And then also just the horrific violence that is the action scenes. That face does not look like someone who's gonna run away. Instead of the little bit of bitterness to that, instead of like equality, everyone's the same. It's more of a lot of cynicism in that. There's a determined look though. Ooh, that's a look. Significant shift in his demeanor though. Oh, the power of that. Like gentleness, kindness in the face of violence and aggression and anger. Ooh, they were having a moment. Oh, taking charge. Let's go. No more indecision. He's not like letting other people manipulate him around anymore. Mm. He's already decided there's no meaning. Good motivator. It's like, there's no meaning to this fight, so you better not die in it. Oh, Askeladd's gonna like see this again and be like, whole new perspective and respect for him. So I actually kind of love that this goes off of what I know I've talked a little bit about going through this series, and also people have mentioned in like the comments of it, is that it was a little bit directionless up to like the more recent episodes I've been going through. It's been very much about establishing like world building and different beliefs and cultures and these different characters. And I absolutely love how dense the world building is in this. Like there's so much culture and difference in these groups of people meeting together that like it just makes this really rich feeling world, and it feels so solid, which I think makes all of these moments of like action and violence and people making these crucial decisions have more weight to them, because it feels like it is solidly in an actual like world with actual people, because there's all of that rich world building. But then to have someone like Knut come in and say all of this has been meaningless, all of your fights, all these things that we've been doing, it doesn't have any meaning, I feel like just like plays into that writing so well of like, yeah, there hasn't been a direction, it's been meandering, it's been just people existing in the world, and they're all these complex people, but they don't have something that clearly motivates them, you know, like a steady plot that links all of these things together until now. And we have Knut who kind of connects all of these things, and like him existing within the story gives it meaning, gives it plot, gives it direction. Like he's literally giving like meaning to the series. And I love that he's like putting his foot down and saying like all of this relying on other people, even like his religion of, you know, putting that burden of guidance and having meaning and what is right, what is wrong, and what people should be doing, putting that weight on a, you know, heavenly figure instead of taking control of him for himself. Like he's always had other father figures, and I mentioned this a little bit about him saying like father when talking to, you know, God. That's another way to refer to God. But he also has like his actual father, the king. He also has Ragnar, who's like a father figure. So he has all these fathers in his life that he lets control who he is and what he's allowed to do and what his purpose is. And to see him fully disregard that and to take charge on his own, I love the feeling of that, of him saying like enough is enough, like none of this has any meaning, people keep fighting and dying and getting mixed up in this world that I'm in, and a passive bystander to it and I keep relying on other people to fight for me, and I'm not going to do it anymore, and I don't like the world as I see it, so I'm going to change it. I have the power to change it. So I really love getting to see him evolve into who he is, and I think that it's really going to shift a lot of it, especially with like Askeladd, who already has a lot of hopes on Knut, and I think seeing this shift is really going to cement his spot in it. I think it's going to earn at least a little bit of admiration from Thorfinn when he sees it, because, you know, someone who's very like determined and knows what they want, I think is something that he can at least have some respect for, even if it's like he doesn't tend to like people. He just like puts up with some of them. And I think also Thorkel is going to like what he sees, like the idea that there's something more to all of this, because we've seen little hints of that, especially with the way that he holds Thor's in such high regard, and, you know, him getting very serious and asking like, what is an actual warrior, like what does any of this actually mean, is really what he's asking. So I think that Knut's change is really going to be pulling a lot of these people together and all of these threads that we've had up to this point, and really make something that, you know, has meaning, has more impact to it. So I feel like it would be really hard to get through all of those things like before. Like if you don't just love world building like I do, and you're not just like super into like this specific time period in terms of like history and mythology and stuff like that, like I'm here just because I like the vibe of the like concept of the show. But I'm sure if you didn't, you wouldn't get past all of this kind of meandering, disconnected story to get to this point where like it all clicks into place and you understand why the narrative is put together the way that it is. I love when that happens. I love when I have a like eureka moment with a specific way of storytelling, and I feel like I've gotten to that point in this, and I'm like all aboard now, because when you have thoroughly impressed me with the way that you write a story, I'm all in. I'm like, I want to know what you're gonna show me. So I'm so excited that not only am I going to like be getting back into the show regularly and get to watch more episodes, but there are more episodes on the horizon. It's gonna be a good time. I can feel it. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you don't miss the next time I post a Vinland Saga reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!